Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Well, look who's back. Hello. Oh, your microphone is muted.
I'm back now.
There he is, everybody. Brendan, back in the saddle. And this is going to be a heck of a ride tonight because we've got some big news. I'll let you announce it. Go ahead.
Well, it looks like Jagmeet Singh is ending his agreement with the Liberal Party of Canada. So the Liberal Party is not going to be trumped up by the NDP party anymore.
So the coalition has come to an end. I told you, Justin Trudeau's days are numbered. Everybody, I told you. I also predicted a long time ago that there was a very high likelihood of a fall election, late fall election this year to kind of coincide, come in around the same time as the U.S. election. I told you. Now, there's no guarantee, folks, that that's going to happen, but I think we are on the path toward that, and we'll dig into that. Plus, the Georgia school shooting and other news, top news of the day. So stay with us. We'll be right back, and Brendan and I will begin the conversation with you guys in the chat.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are two iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, so give me your reaction, first of all, to the big story of the day, the end of the coalition between Justin Trudeau, Jagmeet Singh, the Liberals, and the NDP.
Well, I was shocked. I wasn't expecting this. I would... maybe you were, Mr. Crystal Ball over here, but I definitely was shocked to see it. I sent it to you as soon as I saw it. I was like, oh, this is happening. Because he was clinging on to this for dear life. You have to admit, he has been hanging on to this way longer than anybody could have expected him to have hang on to this.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure how it was going to play out, and I didn't know when something like this was going to happen. But I said, even a year ago, I predicted, not in a solid way. I said I think there's a high probability. I'm thinking there's going to be a fall election and I mean my reasons for that at the time were that I thought that Trudeau would want to take advantage of the U.S. election and all of the commotion, the chaos, the latch on to the same issues and ride those as part of his campaign. In this case, I think what we're looking at is a combination of things. I think it's Jagmeet Singh wanting to do that. I think it's Pierre Poilievre calling Jagmeet Singh out and saying, come on, let's go, end this coalition for those reasons, because the time is good for them. And Justin Trudeau, not so much. He didn't play into it at this point. But regardless, here we go, because I think there is a desire to kind of get the show on the road, if you will, for this fall.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole agreement has been like very unholy and very shady. It's very much a backroom deal. There's been coalitions in Canada before, but I don't think there's ever been one like this. But your recent memory goes further back than mine, so.
No, it's I don't know. This is just the
supply and confidence deal. There's never been a supply and confidence deal before. They've always been labeled as a coalition, but they're like, it's a coalition. That isn't a coalition.
Yeah, well, they're just propping up Trudeau in order to get what they want. I've been saying too that it's not good for the country, because what you really have is that the smallest minority, the NDP in the House, and even electorally, right? Kind of, it's the tail wagging the dog. They have a disproportionate amount of influence over the direction of the country, the policies, the programs that are enacted, legislation. And Jagmeet Singh has been playing Justin Trudeau like a fiddle ever since the last election, and even before, honestly.
And meanwhile, while he has a supply and confidence deal with him, he keeps taking pop shots at Justin Trudeau, like all the time, criticizing Justin Trudeau, saying that the Liberal Party is the problem. The Liberal Party is the problem. You've been the problem. Like, I've never seen a bigger gaslighter than Jagmeet Singh, like, ever. He is the biggest gaslighter I've ever seen. In fact, this whole thing has been extremely undemocratic. The way you hit the nail on the head. You have the minority party, the smallest party, well, other than the Bloc, but you have the smallest party, and the
smallest national party.
Yeah. And this is just so weird how this whole thing has panned out. It's very disgusting, and people don't have confidence in this. People don't have confidence in Justin Trudeau, and surprisingly, the House of Commons does not sit until, I believe, the 16th of September, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's a couple of weeks away. Like, that's not far off.
2 or 3 weeks before they go back. Yeah. Well, let's listen to what Jagmeet said today. We'll play his announcement, because he abruptly announced that he was going to be addressing the nation, and then he came out with this.
Today, I notified the Prime Minister that I've ripped up the supply and confidence agreement. Canadians are fighting a battle for the future of the middle class. Justin Trudeau has proven again and again he will always cave to corporate greed. The Liberals have let people down. They don't deserve another chance. There is an even bigger battle ahead. The threat of Pierre Poilievre and conservative cuts from workers, from retirees, from young people, from patients, from families. He will cut in order to give more to big corporations and wealthy CEOs. The fact is, the Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. They cannot be the change. They cannot restore the hope. They cannot stop the Conservatives. But we can. In the next federal election, Canadians will choose between Pierre Poilievre's callous cuts or hope. Hope that when we stand united, we win. That Canada's middle class will once again thrive together. In Canada, we take care of our neighbors. That's who we are. I've embraced that value my whole life. I'm running for Prime Minister because together we can and will stop conservative cuts. We can deliver relief and restore hope, fix healthcare, build homes you can afford, stop price gouging. It's always impossible until it isn't. It can't be done until someone does it. If we're together, nothing is impossible. And we won't let them tell us it can't be done. Big corporations and wealthy CEOs have had their government. It's the people's time.
And there you have it. That's interesting that he chose those words. It's the people's time. I would suggest that he's trying to move into the populism zone in terms of politics. What do you think?
I think this whole video, this is my first time seeing it. So this whole video screams election time. He's gunning for it. He's like the triumphant music, the whole B-rolls that he had in there. This screams election. He is gunning for it. Yeah, we are definitely going to be entering some kind of no confidence vote based off of that video.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't guarantee that there's going to be an early election. We have to go to the polls. I think it's by next October.
Yeah.
Because of the way the Constitution is written. Yes, folks, there will be an election. Relax. We don't have, we still have something of a democracy left in the country. Regardless, we'll be going to the polls by October of next year. But I think we're going a lot sooner, even though there's no guarantee. The writing is on the wall here. There's, like, in my view, 100% we're going to have an early election. Very possible we could go to the polls as early as November. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. What do you think?
What type of agreement did they have where you could just rip it up and it's no longer valid? I've ripped up the agreement.
Well, it's you just saw it. This is the kind of agreement that can be ripped up because it's only binding as long as the two agree to abide by it. It is that they can end it at any time. It's all dependent on. I in fact here I've made some notes here about what the supply and confidence agreement consisted of. It was established to allow the government, the Trudeau government, to govern without the consent, or the constant threat rather, of a non-confidence vote from the opposition, particularly the NDP, and the Conservatives always pushing, right?
We did have one recently.
So, yeah, we did. They tried that, and it failed because the supply and confidence agreement held. And really all that the supply and confidence agreement is it's just the NDP, the New Democratic Party, which is the third most popular party with the third biggest number of seats in the House of Commons, supporting Justin Trudeau's Liberals so that they have enough votes on any key pieces of legislation so that those pieces of legislation are passed, like a budget. So as long as Jagmeet Singh and the NDP continued to vote with the Liberals, all these key pieces of legislation would pass, and then Trudeau could govern with stability. If key pieces of legislation, such as budgets, fail, if they don't pass, that can trigger a vote of confidence, which can lead to a motion of non-confidence if, again, those fail. So if the budget fails, it can then say, well, the opposition can say, they can't even pass a budget. We want to vote a confidence vote because clearly there isn't enough support in the House among the members of Parliament for this government to continue governing. You can't even get the budget passed. So let's vote. Do you have enough confidence to continue governing? And then they vote on that. And if the vote is a vote of non-confidence, then it can trigger an election. Justin Trudeau would then go to the Governor General and say, hey, Gov, It's time to go to the polls. So let's get the paperwork in order. And then the Governor General signs off, and away you go. Election time.
How many years has this been in place? Since 21, right?
Yeah, well, since the last election.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like every major thing that's been voted on in the House has come from this supply and confidence deal. Everything from the Emergencies Act to probably all of the budgets that the Trudeau government has put out.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the way it worked. And in exchange for the support, the NDP was there with a shopping list of things that they wanted done. They wanted their national dental care program done, pharmacare legislation, anti-scab legislation to protect workers, and they wanted changes made for sustainable jobs and environmental policies. And if you go down the list, pretty much everything that the NDP ever asked for as part of this agreement, the Liberals lived up to. They gave it to Jagmeet Singh. But it just shows you that now that he has sort of most of the things that he wants, that they got that, what's the incentive for Jagmeet Singh to even continue the agreement? He got what he wanted, so screw you. Polyev says if I continue to support you, they're going to start calling me sellout Singh. So yeah, screw this. And he signs off and says, we tore up the agreement. Here we go. Now we'll see what happens in the House. Again, it doesn't automatically trigger an election, doesn't automatically trigger a confidence vote, but now Trudeau is truly vulnerable. The fact that he says he's torn it up tells you something. It means he's ready to vote against Trudeau to trigger an election. Listen to what he just said.
Yeah, the music in that video said it all. I guess the real question will be, is there enough Hamasholes in this country to vote him in as prime minister?
I think we might just be about there, given what I'm seeing on the streets. Yeah. It's pretty scary. But I think you're right on the money there, too, because the guy is so far left, so far extremist, Jagmeet Singh, that he's right over there with that group, the Hamas crowd, and
who else is entailed in that, right? It's all of the unions were behind that. There was let's see, what was it? The Indigo bookstore in downtown Toronto was desecrated by a whole bunch of union members. I can't remember the name of it. CPAC? No. Doesn't matter. Either way. The point is that all these people that are supporting the NDP, including that Fred Hahn fella, they are all in on the Orange Party. Like this is the base. This is the base. Yeah. And it's not even working class people anymore. It's government employees that are in public service unions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the NDP was always supposed to be the party of unions. And they are, but I learned a long time ago that when you're talking about union support, back and forth between the NDP and the unions, it's because it's not so much about supporting the working people. It's really about the organizational support. It's the political support. It's the leadership of the unions being connected to the NDP. The rank and file workers don't always vote in line with what the unions tell them they should be voting along. So it's always been in that vein. Today it is a little bit different though, because the NDP is no longer, in my view, really the party of the working people. Yes, they are the party of big unions, but they don't really represent, I don't think, the working class, the union members anymore, because they really are the party of immigration. They are a very far left party ideologically, and that is taking them, in my view, into some pretty extreme territory, even though I think they probably see themselves as being virtuous and standing up for progressive ideas. I'm not so sure with the NDP. The NDP is the reason Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government in Canada has taken such a hard shift to the left. Liberals are already very progressive and very to the left. The NDP, I would say maybe less progressive, more fascistic, like liberal fascists, which is what Reagan is kind of talking about in the promo that we just ran.
I would go as far to say that under that umbrella, a big part of the NDP is also the welfare state. You take a look at any economically depressed region in this country, Northern Ontario, for example, they're all orange, all of them. Mm-hmm. Places with low job rates, they're all NDP. Northern Ontario is a great example of that.
Yeah, never underestimate the power of promises of free things. Don't underestimate the power of free. People like free stuff, right? Yeah. So when politicians start offering up free stuff, people are going, I'm going to vote for that because I'm going to get free this and free that. And that's an easy path. But in the end, it's a bit of a trap. It's a big trap, actually. In my view, that's the way, I view the economic side of things. But, Pierre Poilievre says that the whole thing by Jagmeet Singh today is a stunt. Let's take a look at what he had to say and how he reacted to this. We'll get to Justin Trudeau in just a moment, but here's Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, and probably the next Prime Minister because he's still riding high in the polls. And here we go, Pierre.
Sa coalition avec Justin Trudeau. Mais il y a encore un obstacle qui garde Justin Trudeau au pouvoir et ça s'appelle Yves-François Blanchet.
He'll get to the
Blanchet qui a voté 188 fois pour garder Trudeau au
pouvoir. Translate that for us, Brendan.
Dans toutes sortes de votes de confiance. Et maintenant, là, pour sauver Justin Trudeau et pour forcer les Québécois de payer plus
Justin Trudeau, his days are numbered. He's going to go bye-bye very soon.
Donc, aujourd'hui,
goodbye, au revoir, Monsieur Trudeau. You can no longer score the goals on the hockey and the maple syrup.
Et ses dépenses inflationnistes et irresponsables.
And we're real tired of you. Get out of here, you crazy guy.
Un taux d'immigration hors de contrôle.
And I did not cue up the English thing, and I'm talking like a father, like a Rosanna Dana, Father Guido Sarducci.
De gros bon sens.
That's not a Canadian accent.
Pour déclencher
hang on a second. Pierre, we want you speaking English, man. Come on.
Get with the rest of the country, man.
Here we go. I'm sorry.
It was worth it for your
yeah, everyone got to hear my accent.
I just want to point out how great it is to be back in British Columbia, where my family used to take us for little vacations, camping trips. My folks were school teachers.
Nice little
they adopted
family
me.
Story
even though we came
we
from modest means and went through a lot of hard times, it was always possible to have a modest vacation in our neighboring province of British Columbia. And my folks would tell me that, in Canada, it didn't really matter where you came from. It mattered where you were going. That anyone from anywhere could do anything. That's the country my wife came to as a refugee, starting as 6 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, but now all of them have succeeded. That was the Canadian promise.
His wife was a refugee?
Unfortunately, after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP Liberals, that promise is broken. Everything costs more. Work doesn't pay. Housing costs have doubled. We now have the worst housing costs in all of the G7. Housing is 25 to 45% more expensive in Canada than it is in the United States of America, where they have to house 8 times the people on a smaller landmass. Crime, chaos, drugs and disorder are now taking over our once safe and serene streets. And what would the NDP do about it? Well, for the last 2 years, Sellout Singh has signed on to a coalition, a costly coalition, to keep Trudeau in power, raising taxes, doubling housing costs, and unleashing crimes and drugs in our streets. Sellout Singh betrayed the workers who thought he would stand up for them. Instead, he has stood up for Trudeau, allowing Trudeau to double our debt and cause the worst inflation in 40 years. A third of Canadians now say they consider leaving Canada. 2 million line up at food banks. 2/3 of kids, young people, and families who don't own homes believe they never will in Canada. We never imagined that it would be so bad that hospitals would have coolers full of dead bodies because family members can't afford burials or cremations. But that's what Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, Sellout Singh, have delivered. And then on food prices, well, food prices, I think we've got a CBC, oh my goodness, CBC's microphone has fallen down. What do you know? Who would have thought that I'd be holding on to the CBC logo here today? I'll give that to you. I don't know if that... everything is broken in Canada after 9 years of the NDP Liberals, including the CBC microphone. And now Sellout Singh has pulled a stunt. The Sellout Singh stunt today, where he came out and claimed that he was wrong, that the coalition was a bad, costly idea, but he refuses to commit to voting for a carbon tax election. So my message to Sellout Singh is this. If you're serious about ending your costly carbon tax coalition with Trudeau, then commit today to voting for a carbon tax election at the earliest confidence vote in the House of Commons. That way we can have a carbon tax election where Canadians will decide between the costly coalition of Trudeau and Sellout Singh that tax your food, punish your work, take your money, double your housing costs, and unleash crime and drugs on your street.
I'll translate.
Common sense conservatives.
Translate this to French for you in a moment.
Build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. In so doing that, we'll bring home the country we love, where hard work earns a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods, where our military is strong and our people are safe, where immigration is welcome but controlled, where drug addictions are treated, not worsened, where children can play safely in the streets, where the flag flies high, where we are the freest country on earth, and where the common sense of the common people are united for our common home, Canada. Let's bring it home.
Thanks, everyone. We're going to open it up for questions.
Do you want to listen to some questions?
Listen to one or two.
Will you test the NDP to see if they're willing to support the current government?
We have to wait till we get the calendar. Right now we don't have a calendar to indicate when we can put forward a motion, but the NDP will have to choose. Are they going to, after Jagmeet Singh, after Sellout Singh did this stunt today, he is going to have to vote on whether he keeps Justin Trudeau's costly government in power or whether he triggers a carbon tax election so Canadians can elect a common sense government that acts as the tax, builds the homes, fixes the budget.
Gotta keep hitting on that that campaign slogan, marketing.
Merci beaucoup. On n'a pas encore l'horaire par la...
Okay, that's enough of that.
I'm gonna translate that to French for him. Monsieur Trudeau is time to go. Goodbye. Au revoir, Monsieur Trudeau. There you go. That's what he said. That's my French.
He has a point on something though. This could be Jagmeet Singh can be a part of this this thing could be over basically in name only. He could still prop the Liberals any way he wants or anyhow he wants.
He could, but he won't.
We'll see.
No,
That's to
yeah,
be
we'll see.
determined.
But why would he make the announcement that he made today and the way that he made it and said that Justin Trudeau doesn't deserve another chance? If he's just going to continue to prop up Trudeau, why would he make this announcement and then just continue to prop up Trudeau? Why wouldn't he just leave the agreement in place? So if he's makes this announcement and said what he said, it tells me that he's ready to vote against Trudeau in some upcoming on some upcoming key piece of legislation to trigger an election. We're going to the polls, Brendan. Aren't you excited?
I'll tell you why. You want to know why? Because
Yeah, tell me
Justin
why.
Trudeau is now a dirty word. You can't be associated with Justin Trudeau, but he can be on the backbench.
Yeah, so you're saying that he's just doing this to distance himself from Trudeau, but doesn't plan to trigger an election?
I'm saying it's one of the few possible outcomes.
Because why? You think that he just wants to ride this out so that he ensures that he gets his pension?
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's a huge possibility.
Because he needs to take it right to the max in order to guarantee that he gets his pension. Now, if he's reelected for another term, then he will have served enough time to get the full pension. That I think
I don't doubt that he would be reelected. I don't doubt that at all.
I don't think so either, and that's why I don't think that he would hesitate here to pull the rug out from underneath Justin Trudeau. You know, there's an old saying: "There's no honor among thieves." I don't think there's much honor among politicians either, and you're witnessing it here. In fact, Pierre Poilievre says, "If you continue to support Justin, we're going to start calling you Sellout Singh." And then he goes and makes the announcement today, and Pierre Poilievre responds by calling him Sellout Singh. So it didn't help him at all on the Conservative side. He's still going to get that nickname thrown at him.
I do like it when they make nicknames. Nicknames are great. Sellout Singh. Jerk meat Singh.
It makes the oh God, it does make politics interesting.
It does. And nobody's better at it than Doug Ford.
Yes, somebody is better at it.
Oh, who, you?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is pretty good. He's pretty good. He can't nail down Kamala.
He can't.
I found Kamala is better than Conrad Kamala.
Comrade, yeah.
Kamala.
Kamala.
Commiela. Kamala.
Oh,
pretty
man.
Good, eh?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't know if the communism thing is going to hurt her that much, though, because there is actually today such a, like, communism doesn't carry this as much of an aura of negativity with it as it used to. In fact, some people like the idea of communism. There's a growing communist movement within our society. So I don't know if it's going to hurt her that much.
That happens every time the economy sucks, though. Every time the economy sucks, the communists come out.
That's true. That's very true. The socialists in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happened big time in the Depression.
Yep.
In this country, we jailed many a communist during the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you thought about just even becoming a communist, in jail. There you go.
Have you ever thought of becoming a communist?
Never. I've never thought about becoming a communist. It was always a dirty word for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I'm opposed to it, and yet I hang out sometimes with communists on occasion. We've had them on the program, people who claim to be communists, and I'm always happy to listen to them, but I don't agree with them. I'm not a communist. I would never be a communist. I find communism distasteful.
With all the friends that you have, Rick Walker, I'm sure you're on a list somewhere just for that.
I'm on some lists. I'm sure of that. I'm not sure that the people who put me on those lists are my friends, though. Yeah.
Communists aren't your friends. That's what they want to tell you that. Oh, I'll be your friend. I'll give you everything you need. Everything's going to be okay.
It's one of the first things that I learned as a journalist is that communists frickin' lie. They deceive you. They do. I think I've told the story before about doing a story on a communist who was at a May Day rally and was trying to recruit kids, but he was misrepresenting himself and wasn't telling them the truth about who he was and who he represented. And so I did the story on him. Anyway, that's kind of a sidebar. We shouldn't get too far into the weeds on that stuff.
But no,
Yeah.
to bring it back home, see what I did there.
Bring it home.
To bring it home, I would say you're probably right. It does look like, a no confidence vote is going to happen.
100%.
However, will it happen on Pierre Poilievre's term? So he's trying to make it on his turf. It's got to be a carbon tax election, which, to be honest, I don't know.
Doesn't matter. An election will be an election will be an election. If Pierre Poilievre wants to campaign on a carbon tax platform and make that his main issue, then that's what he will do.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be an issue in the House that relates to the carbon tax. It can be on anything that might trigger an election. And we'll see what happens. I think they will force the issue. They will find a way to get a vote of confidence on the floor real quick now.
The most exciting part about an election is that you find a lot of dirty laundry comes out during an election. I found out about the World Economic Forum digital ID program that Canada has been pumping money into. I found out about it because it was tucked away in a Maclean's article under Liberal platforms that they were raising. And they didn't list it as digital ID. It's just I followed the paper trail, and if you go to ktdi.org, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. That when you do your homework during an election, you will find all kinds of creepy crawlers under the carpet.
Well, in my view is that we need an election. Mm-hmm. The country is at a critical point, a pivot point potentially. I think we need the election to keep the peace, to restore stability to the country, because it's not just the members of parliament who have largely lost confidence in the government. I think the citizens have, to the point where some people are ready to do some pretty extreme things if we don't get to the polls. So the sooner we get to the polls, the better, because we need to calm people down. If you get my drift.
I would second that. Absolutely. We do need a cleansing. And I think the first stage of this is definitely getting rid of this unholy alliance with backroom deals that they had here. This supply and confidence deal, or whatever you want to call it. This is a big step in the right direction, where we're going with this. And people have lost confidence. Everything is expensive. I spend $120 at the grocery store. I get 2 bags of freaking groceries. Like, this is unacceptable. I can't live like this. You guys can't live like this. I've said it on the show before. I said, we're going to be in them for a world of hurt. And, no one party is going to fix all the issues and everything that's happening. But what we need to do is fix the frickin' budget in this country. Once we do that, we could at least start getting some stability. And maybe there's been some changes with the interest rates, but I don't think that's going to fix very much. In my community alone right now, I've never seen so many houses for sale. Nobody's buying anything here. Everything's too expensive. Nobody can buy anything.
Actually, the Bank of Canada cut their key interest rate again today. It's actually might seem a little dry, but it's really important. This is actually big news because this indicates that the economy is still sluggish, and I think that's being charitable. The economy is not growing at the rate that it needs to, and the Bank of Canada is caught in I think a position really of stagflation, where you have inflation at the same time as you have negative or slow growth. So they're facing a very difficult series of decisions on what to do with monetary policy and fiscal policy, because it's like they need to put they can't just use interest rates alone to combat inflation. because if they increase the interest rate too much, the economy slows down because it makes the cost of money and borrowing higher, so people don't get car loans or they can't afford to buy a home, right? And yet at the same time, the economy is sluggish, so they need to do something to stimulate consumption and stimulate growth. Here's the Bank of Canada governor.
I love it when you talk finance.
So let me expand on what we're seeing in the economy and how that played into our deliberations. In the second quarter, the economy grew by 2.1%, led by government spending and business investment. This was slightly stronger than we forecast in July. Together with first quarter growth of 1.8%, this suggests the economy grew by about 2% over the first half of 2024. That's a healthy rebound from the near zero growth we had in the second half of 2023. Our July projection has growth strengthening further in the second half of this year. Recent indicators suggest there is some downside risk to this pickup. In particular, preliminary indicators suggest that economic activity was soft through June and July, and employment growth has stalled in recent months. The unemployment rate has risen over the last year to 6.4% in June and July. The rise is concentrated in youth and newcomers to Canada who are finding it more difficult to get a job. Business layoffs remain moderate, but hiring has been weak. The slack in the labor market is expected to slow wage growth, which remains elevated relative to productivity. Turning to price pressures, CPI inflation eased further to 2.5% in July, and our preferred measures of core inflation also moved lower. With the share of CPI components growing above 3% now around its historical norm, there is little evidence of broad-based price pressures. But shelter price inflation is still too high. It remains the biggest contributor to overall inflation, despite some early signs of easing. Inflation also remains elevated in some other services.
He just contradicted.
As outlined in our July forecast, inflation is expected to ease further in the months ahead. It may bump up later in the year as base year effects unwind, and there is a risk that upward forces on inflation could be stronger than expected. At the same time, with inflation getting closer to the target, we need to increasingly guard against the risk that the economy is too weak and inflation falls too much.
See, told you.
On est déterminé à ramener l'inflation à la cible.
And I won't translate for him, but he actually contradicted himself right there. He said that it doesn't seem to be any evidence of ongoing, I don't remember the exact words, but excessive price pressures. Then turns around and says that inflation is too high. He just contradicted himself. And the CPI, Consumer Price Index, 2.5%, that's too high vis-a-vis, or when you compare that to the growth rate, which is only at 2%. And previously, in the last report, he indicated 0%, right? No, you can't have prices rising faster than the rate of growth. And that CPI number, those inflation rates are not accurate. I've shown here before that because of the way they calculate inflation now, the real rate of inflation has been anywhere from like 15 to 20, 25% even year over year from the pandemic up until today. It has come down, but it's still way too high. And it's because of the monetary policies that the Trudeau government has adopted during the pandemic and after. They're spending too much money. Over to you, sir.
Well, I just wanted to kind of point out with this in particular, like the Biden-Harris administration has been cooking the books in all kinds of ways to make the numbers look better for themselves. Who's to say that we're not doing it? And you've hinted a little bit at that. Like they changed the way that we collect these numbers or how these numbers work all the time. It's no different than the stupid COVID modeling that we had. Oh, there's 1 million and whatever people are going to die. It's projected modeling. Like, what are they doing?
I mean, they do have, like the Bank of Canada does use, set formulas, and the government as well to calculate inflation and then the CPI index and and so on. But the way they do it today is different than the way they did it, say, in the 1970s. And they do change it. They change because really what they're doing is they're taking a simulated basket of goods and saying, what are the prices for these things? Everything from gasoline to bread, right? Looking at those and then saying, this is what we're basing our calculations for inflation on. But they calculate it different. They'll grab different kinds of goods to put in that basket to cook the numbers to make the government look better, right? And it often doesn't take into account things like the sizes of things and just other factors that it's statistics. They make the statistics say what they want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. They make the statistics say what they want them to say. Now, everywhere that you look, like, everything he said there was kind of grim. Like, it doesn't sound like there's hardly any growth, and he's contradicting himself.
Yeah.
But everywhere you look for reporting on this, they're celebrating. Oh, the interest rates are gone down the third time in a row. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing?
Yeah, well, I didn't mention, I think that the key rate was lowered today to, I think it's 4.25%, which was not...
Yes,
yeah,
4.25%.
Yeah, 4.25%. So, they keep ratcheting it down. They need to do that to stimulate the economy. They make money less expensive. When I say the cost of money, that's what does it cost to borrow money? So you go to the bank and, I mean, that's the key bank rate. What you pay in interest for a car loan or a mortgage or whatever, that's going to be different at the retail level when you go in. And it depends on a lot of factors. Competition between banks, what your credit rating is, what you're buying, what the terms of the loan are, things of that nature. So that all determines. And also what you're paying on your credit card and so on. Also what the rate of return ends up being on a lot of investment products, right? So that the cost of money, the interest rate, impacts directly on what you're getting on all kinds of investments, from GICs to your savings account. But the key to the whole thing, honestly, as I've said many times, which the government has not really embraced, is growth. We need growth in order to combat this stagflation. But the Trudeau government and people on the left side of the political spectrum, generally, they're against growth, especially if they're progressives, because they see growth as being an assault on the environment, or they see it as being, an existential threat to humanity because we can't have growth, we can't have profit. No, we need growth. We need more jobs, more factories humming. We need to bring production back here. We need to make use of our resources. We need to get people into good paying jobs, not minimum wage jobs. We need to stimulate the resource sectors, extract the oil, get the lumber, go after the uranium and the nickel and the iron ore. We need to try to stimulate the steel industry again, get the auto industry functioning properly, not just on government grants. We need to bring the jobs back and grow our way out of this financial crisis that these left-wing wacko politicians have cooked up for us.
I 100% agree with that assessment. And, when it comes to talking about anything with the economic side of things, I think that your opinion is always extremely solid in that. I don't know if other people appreciate it as much as I do, but it's always top notch your assessment on these things.
Well, thanks. The reason growth works in this case is because it's like supply side economics, essentially. You increase the supply of consumer goods. The more supply you have of something, the more of something there is, it brings prices down. That means consumers benefit from having an abundance of goods. And at the same time, because you're producing more goods, you have more people working. So you need to stimulate the economy and bring back the growth, bring back production.
Absolutely. And I mean, JJ in the chat just hit the nail on the head. We have lots of red tape in this country. We have so much freaking red tape. You can't get anything done in this country. And like you said, as soon as you go, oh, we're going to do this project that'll increase prosperity for everybody. Well, we can't have prosperity because it might kill an endangered seagull.
Yeah, well, it's red tape itself. Regulations are a hurdle, a burden, a disincentive to growth because it makes it difficult for businesses to function efficiently. Not to say that regulations, when used appropriately, are not. We need some regulations, I guess, to prevent people from dumping radioactive waste into your drinking water or doing crazy things that are contrary or an assault on the overall good for society, right? Need to protect people, health and safety, and so on. So I get it. Building codes so your houses don't fall down and kill people and so on. But here's Justin Trudeau responding to Jagmeet Singh's announcement today that the coalition between the NDP and Liberals is coming to an end, and it's the economy, baby. It's the economy. That's going to be
good.
Yeah, as much as the carbon tax issue is what Pierre Poilievre says that he wants to fight the next election on. It really overall is the economy. That's the issue. I think that will be front and center. Here's Trudeau's response.
The high cost of rent and the need for more housing. They talk to me about the environment and climate change and the impacts of it. And these are the things that we're focused on. I'll let others focus on politics, but I will point out that I really hope the NDP stays focused on how we can deliver for Canadians, as we have over the past years, rather than focusing on politics.
Follow.
What will become of the programs that you announced as part of the agreement that you had with the NDP, such as pharmacare and dental care?
Well, we have delivered on dental care. 500,000 Canadian seniors have now accessed dental care just in the past few months, despite Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives' opposition to it every step of the way. 500,000 Canadian seniors have now had dental care, many for the first time in decades. This is a program that has helped Canadians. We still have work to do to continue rolling out dental care, and I hope the NDP will continue to fight for that. This fall, we're going to be moving forward on making sure that nobody has to choose between paying for groceries or rent or paying for much-needed insulin.
Why didn't you do that before?
Is going to become a reality as we work on that in the House, and I hope the NDP stays focused on that. As a government, we're going to stay focused on delivering for Canadians at a time
scared
when
is what he
people
is.
need that. We have,
he
and
looks
the
hungry.
Bank of Canada
His
announcement
face
today
is all
underscored
sunken
that. We have the strongest
He sounds
fiscal
upset.
position of any country in the G7 right now.
Somebody feed him a
Look at
sandwich.
I believe
we
our
deserve to
belief
get
is
reelected.
We
Look.
need to set that fiscal
No,
position.
come
to
on.
work for Canadians.
Jagmeet,
by
you
delivering spaces
abandoned
at
us.
$10 a day in daycares across the country. Delivering dental care,
Why
rolling
so
out
sounding so desperate,
Canadians with
Justin?
disabilities and kids under
Free
18.
stuff. Free stuff. Free
Delivering
stuff.
a school food program that's going to make sure that kids
Yep.
don't
This
sit
is-
in
that's what he's all
class
about.
too focused on their bellies
So you
rumbling,
stagnated
to
our
focus on the
prosperity
teacher.
so bad that you
These
need
are
to feed the
things that
kids now.
Canadians care about and need. These are the things that this government continues to focus
We're
on.
going to give away more free stuff.
Because we made you too poor to afford stuff.
TV, have you had an opportunity to think about what your fall will look like now? Will it be another just a regular return to the House of Commons, or do you now have to start
Election
thinking about
time.
calling an election before something happens?
I am not focused on politics. I'll let other parties focus on politics.
Yes, you are.
I'm focused on actually delivering the things that Canadians
your eye off
told
the
me
ball.
I'm
You're
going to
gonna
give
lose.
out more free
They
stuff to buy
I
votes.
had thousands of conversations with people across the country. Very few of them
And pretend
wanted
that
to
I'm
talk
giving free
politics.
stuff when
They
it's the
wanted to
people's
talk
own money
how
that I'm
we're
giving
gonna make
back to
sure,
them.
that they can afford their
What about
rent
your
as they get back to
conversation with
school
the
in
Algoma
fall.
Steel
How
employee?
they're going to be able to hope to one day be able to own a home. That's why we're investing in the most ambitious home building program the country has ever seen. They want to know how we're going to help with the price of groceries. Well, rolling out these school
Well,
food
but just
programs
buy free groceries for
right across the
everybody.
country as more provinces come on board is going to make a real difference in families' bottom lines. I'm focused on Canadians. I'll let the other parties focus on politics.
But
Which
with that
Canadians?
said, you have to focus on politics.
One little,
at some
two little,
point when you
three
look at what you're doing.
Canadians.
The announcement today, for example, the Bank of Canada rate dropping, it would seem like these would be positive signs that maybe you would want to go to the polls with. So when do you start
Positive
thinking
signs.
politically?
Really start.
Call the election.
Delivering
People want
for
it.
Canadians is at the heart of what politics is supposed to be about. We're about being there to make sure
he seems like
that as Canadians are hurting, as our economy is in many ways one of the strongest in the world.
He's stressed.
Certainly in terms of fiscal position.
Totally stressed
We
out.
should be putting that economy to serve them. That's why we stepped up with $10 a day childcare. That's why we've stepped up
Dollar
with
store
dental care. That's
daycare.
why we're continuing to fight for pharmacare.
With a
This is
6-year
why
waiting
we're
period.
drawing in
Or is it
investment
8
from
years?
around the world at
8
levels
years.
that nobody's ever seen. We're up 60% in foreign direct investment. Last year, we were the #1 country per capita among advanced economies in the G20 for companies wanting to invest in Canada. There is opportunity in Canada that we cannot let slide. That's what we're focused on.
You can
An
hear
election
it.
will come.
You can hear
in
the
coming
distress
year,
in his
hopefully not
voice.
till next fall. Because in the meantime, we're going to deliver for Canadians, and the contrast with
He doesn't
a
look good,
conservative
man.
leader
No.
that wants to cut dental care, cut the school food program, cut.
He sounds like
cut
he's
the
responding to an
insulin
argument,
for,
right? Instead of just
through
responding to
pharmacare,
the question.
Cut the programs that Canadians are
You see- you
relying
know what I'm
on
s-
to
you
help
hear
them
what
through
he's-
this
what I'm
difficult time.
talking about?
Yeah.
That'll be a
He's backed
political
into a
decision.
corner, right?
Canadians get
Yeah.
to take in an election.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm not letting down
I'm
Canadians.
not letting down.
I'm going to stay focused on
I'm going to
that.
stay focused on
La réalité, c'est
Canadians
que,
and not the,
depuis
not the
plusieurs
politics.
années,
And no, 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 no.
livré pour les
That famous
Canadiens,
picture
que
of
ce
his
soit au
dad
niveau
where
des
he's
soins
going,
dentaires, que ce soit
You know
au
the one?
niveau de l'abordabilité avec
he's
des
speaking
investissements
en
dans le
français.
logement, avec de l'aide pour l'épicerie, avec un programme
of civilians, including children and students in policy.
Okay, let's
I think we get the
stay
point
focused on what we're talking about. Yeah, man. He's afeared.
He's
Trudeau's a terrified.
He's a scared.
He sure is.
You reckon?
He's going down. I told you. I told you. His days are numbered, folks. No need to fret. Just sit back, relax, and stay calm, because Justin Trudeau's days are numbered. We're going to the polls real soon. I bet you. I bet you. I bet you we go this fall. I bet you. I bet you. Do you want to bring Joseph in? You want to ask an American what he
American?
thinks?
Oh,
What's
he's
going
just
on
gonna
up here in
call us all
Kanakistan?
commies. He's going to be like, you guys are just a bunch of commies with your breakfast
Hey,
program.
Joseph, my man, welcome back to the program, sir.
Everybody.
My
Can you hear
American
me okay?
friend, my American
Can you-
friend from Detroit. I can hear you.
Okay, okay, yeah.
I think so. Can you hear him okay, Brendan?
I don't know. Talk again.
Can you hear me?
One more time.
Earth to Joseph. Over.
This is a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
I could hear you the whole time. Don't worry. You're fine.
Well, I had to get another new headset because the microphone on the last one. This is my
Right.
sixth.
Likely story. Likely story.
And good news, bad news. Good news, my strained muscle and nerve won't bother me tonight. Bad news is I'm on a powerful muscle relaxer, so I'm like, woo, off in the twilight zone.
Well, you're always entertaining, and tonight I can't wait to see what the results of that will be.
I thought you were going to say the bad news is I'm out of beer.
Can you guys, I'll just check the check. Can you guys hear Joseph okay? All of you Mavericks out there in Maverick land? Yeah, I think we're okay. All right, well, if you can't hear Joseph, you let us know. So, my American friend down there in Detroit, what you think about Monsieur Trudeau? Do you even know what the heck we're talking about? Do you even understand our Kanakistan political system?
Well, yes, I understand it, but specifically to what you're referring right now, no, I just entered in the green room a few minutes ago. I've been watching.
You know what?
the
I
Georgia
don't think your headset's even connected. Yeah, I think you're just on your camera mic, to be quite honest with you.
Huh, let me check my settings again.
Yes, you
I
do
may may not have said it back.
Go to settings.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh.
Okay, now I'm on the headset.
Yeah, okay. Let me just, you might want to just crank your audio level down just a teeny tiny bit because you sound just a touch distorted.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, let's say something
All
again.
right.
Say
Yeah, is
testing.
that testing?
Now
One,
we're
two,
cooking
three.
with gas.
All right. Yeah, you're right, because last time I was on with you through StreamYard, I had to switch to my camera mic because the headset mic wasn't working right. Yeah.
Well, now you are deep inside my skull with your audio, and that's a scary thing. But go ahead. What do you think of what we're talking about? Are you getting it? Do you understand what's going on up here?
Well, I've been paying attention to the school shooting all day, so I'm not aware of what you were just talking about.
Yeah, well, we're getting to it. I'll just simplify it for you. Something happened today, and this coalition government of Justin Trudeau with the New Democratic Party, so you got the Liberals and the NDP, they teamed up, and the little party, the NDP, has been propping up, supporting the bigger party so that Justin Trudeau could stay in power. But now that fell apart today, and that means that if there's a vote of confidence at some point, the Liberal government could fall and we could go to the polls for an election.
Great, great. Get that SOB out of there.
It's not that, see, not that we support candidates here, but we are very open to criticizing those who are in
power. Yeah.
And even those who seek it sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Just, his dad was bad enough, but Justin is 1,000 times worse.
Oh, yes. 1,000 times worse.
I still can't get over how starving he looks. Like his cheekbones like that. Like is he on some sort of new keto diet? Like maybe he hasn't been eating the school children's food program lunches, I don't think.
You mean he hasn't been eating the children lately? And
maybe.
Is he taking over for Biden and the smelling children reign?
Well, he's a couple doses behind on his adrenochrome, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Joking, YouTube. That's a joke,
That's a
YouTube,
joke.
just to let you know. Okay,
Right.
It's humor for the
Yeah.
humorless censors out there. Here's where we're at with the polls in Canada. If an election were to be held today, the Conservative Party of Canada would secure, according to the 338 poll, 210 seats. That would be a massive landslide, maybe an unprecedented landslide. This poll taken most recently September 1st. The Liberals would trail way behind with just 81 seats. The Bloc Québécois, which is really only a party in the province of Quebec, but is federally listed and sits in the House of Commons, would come away with 34, which still puts them ahead of the NDP, which is a national party running candidates Canada-wide, which would only secure 16 seats, the Green Party of Canada 2, and our friends at the People's Party of Canada, still not registering there, 0 still. 0.
I think they're running some by-elections. I may have seen something about that.
I believe there's one coming up in Montreal.
Yeah.
We saw a while back that key riding in Toronto, which had been a Liberal stronghold, flipped Conservative. Another indication that Justin Trudeau is in trouble.
Trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brendan, you mentioned earlier, you wondered about, you talked a bit about, have we had coalition governments like this before? And yes, we have. I believe there was one back in like 1972.
A coalition that wasn't a coalition?
A coalition that was sort of a coalition. I remember actually around 79, Joe Clark was elected prime minister, conservative, and he had a minority government. And rather than try to develop some sort of if it doesn't matter if you have a coalition or you don't, when you have a minority government in a parliamentary system, the only way you can survive as a government and pass anything is to make deals with the other parties to get support for this, and then you have to give some of that. That's why a lot of Canadians will say minority government is always better for the people, because it forces more compromise and it prevents any government from just doing whatever the heck they want to do. There's always a check and balance in place. It can also lead, though, to dysfunctionality and short-lived governments, and that's what happened to Joe Clark. Rather than try to compromise, he wasn't, in my view, my personal view, he wasn't a very skilled politician. He had a very short-lived government coming in after a Trudeau administration, and he had a minority government. And he said, I remember because I'm really old, this is back in 1979. I was young, but I remember. He said he was going to govern like he had a majority, even though he only had a minority, which was a stupid thing to say and a stupid way to approach it, and his government didn't last very long. I also remember the key issues, which at that time also centered around taxation. But anyway, I won't get into the details of that back in in 1979. And his government only lasted up until 1980. We had to go back to the polls again, and then he was defeated, and the Liberals came back in. And hello, Mr. Trudeau again is what we ended up with. So, yeah.
Well, you're talking to tell you how slow I am. I just came up with this NDP, the Not Deeply Pertinent Party.
Well, I don't know if that's applicable or not, because actually they've been incredibly pertinent, extremely important, because as we mentioned earlier, as the minority party, the smallest of the national representative parties in Parliament, they've had huge influence. They've been controlling the government and Trudeau, because they, as part of their coalition agreement, they had a laundry list of things they wanted that they otherwise never would have been able to get. Even if they had been elected into a minority government, to get all the things that they got, probably wouldn't have got it. If it had been flipped around, I don't know if the Liberals would have even agreed. You know why? Because the Liberals would want power in that scenario, where they would have been the ones propping up the NDP, and they would have said, screw this, we don't want that, and we don't want this, so we don't really want those things. They're not a priority, like the dental care program, which the Liberals actually opposed before. It was the NDP that wanted it. And other way around, the Liberals would have said no to trigger the election. They would not have supported the NDP the same way. But the NDP got what they wanted, including that dental program, which now Trudeau is saying, well, look at all the free dental care that we're giving you. You should vote for us again.
Yeah,
and on the other side of the spectrum, I don't think we would have had the Emergencies Act declared in Canada if it wasn't for the NDP supporting the Liberals. I don't think that would have happened. Mm-hmm. That's a key thing that we have to remember. We cannot forget. We cannot forget that happened.
Yes. Yeah, that's, for me, that one there, the lockdowns, the Emergencies Act, all that stuff, man, all that government overreach, we need to address that. Those are the issues that are most important to me, because that's all about freedom, restrictions on our freedoms, and the abuse of our rights, the way the government took our rights away during the lockdowns. Got to address that. I've got some ideas that we'll share another night in ways to do that, but back to you guys.
Yeah,
I would say NDP, a better abbreviation for them would be the National Double Penetration Party.
Ooh.
I was thinking.
I'm afraid to have you elaborate on that.
Now deal with us, Parliament Party, because like you said, they've luckily been in a position to leverage the things they want. But yeah, free. I'm in Detroit. I've been to Canada many times. I know the taxation you all pay up the wazoo up there. So yeah, free. Sure.
Yeah. No, we pay for it through our taxes, and then we also pay for it through inflation. Our future generations will be paying for it. Government spending out of control. Really, really poorly managed economy. But that generally is the way it goes in Canada anyway. We end up with people falling for the free stuff. We get a Liberal government elected. They come in. They do buy up votes with promises of free things. They destroy the economy. then we have to elect a conservative government to come in with austerity measures, and they have to get things back on track. And they generally do a pretty good job of that, but it's this back and forth and back and forth. And overall, we've had way more liberal governments than conservative, and Canada just has too much debt, in my view, but still in better shape than some countries.
Don't buy any of this.
Same with us.
All of these programs don't work at all. You're not getting any free dental care. They may say that, but the eligibility, the pool of population that is eligible for this is nada, is nobody. The amount of dentist offices that are signing up for this program is barely any. The reason why they need to start feeding your kids in these stupid programs is because they make groceries so damn unaffordable in this country. I can go on with this dollar store daycare that they have established. Nobody's getting into it. It's an 8+ year waiting period. Your kid's going to be graduated frickin' college by the time you even get them into this program. It's absurd. It's poorly run. It's all bureaucracy, and it's all talking points, and it's all a lie.
Same with the Democrats, the fascocrats here in the U.S. Run up debt for things to buy votes with to keep them in power, and our wide open southern border now because the fascocrats are bleeding blacks, Latinos like crazy, so they need replacement votes.
The biggest problem with the dental care program has been that the people who qualify for it have been they're being encouraged by the dentists to partake in services that otherwise they would never have taken advantage of. What I'm saying is the dentists are upselling services that have actually been excessive, and they're milking the system to increase their profits. So, case in point, somebody who calls me on a fairly regular basis talked to me about they qualified for the dental program. So they go out and they go to the dentist, and the dentist gives them a cleaning and says, those fillings, we should replace those fillings.
Yes.
And he's like, well, why? Well, because we have these new ones, and they'd be much better. So book it. Why not? It's free. You see, you get free fillings, which otherwise, the point is, he even told me the fillings that he had were fine. But since it's free, we'll get new ones.
Yeah. Well, not even that. I think you need a root canal and a crown on that tooth.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Are you saying we're going to start seeing people with like a full-out grill on their...
Well, I know there are restrictions, on what qualifies, what doesn't. But the way the system is set up right now, I've talked to several people who have gone through this, and they've been offered services that really they didn't really need, but they did it because it was free.
And we're seeing that with Obamacare here in the U.S. And illegally, doctors are now encouraged to hand voter registration forms to patients they know are on Obamacare because, of course, they'll vote for more handouts and more doctor upsell visits.
And in the long run, I fear that the impact on the system will be similar to what we've seen with the healthcare system here in Canada. It will end up resulting in long waits and rationing of services, because when you make something free, demand goes up, especially for base services. I mean, nobody goes into the hospital looking for, a free heart bypass if you don't really need one. But what ends up happening is if you get the sniffles, if you don't think you have to pay for it, you'll run right to the doctor immediately for a doctor's visit that you otherwise wouldn't need. Emergency rooms get overburdened. People do sign up for procedures that, otherwise they maybe wouldn't if they had to pay for it. And the point being, governments with socialized healthcare systems where they give away the bulk of services for free, you see a spike in demand. The only way they can control the system and control the price and price demand equilibrium is to ration supply. So they ration care and they decide who gets what. When they get it, they have to figure, and because you get people going in for a lot of things that are superfluous, not really critical, other people who have really serious conditions sometimes end up having to wait because there just aren't overall enough resources to provide the level of care that people need, especially high-end kinds of care, right? You end up with real rationing for that kind of stuff because they have to, allocate resources here and there and budget, and they have to restrict who gets what. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? Up to the point, Joseph, for all of our American friends, where the government even has to decide who lives and who dies when it comes to important surgeries.
One of the arguments for socialized Obamacare. Oh, we'll put all the illegal aliens on Obamacare, and that way the hospital emergency rooms won't be overfilled with indeed lesser things than they can go to the doctor.
Yeah.
But, again, Cloward and Piven, at some point, the system breaks. It's overburdened. It's going to bankrupt.
Yeah.
There was a direct example of this in the United Kingdom, which has an almost similar healthcare program as Canada. And there was a little girl who was born with a serious illness, and the doctor said, "That's it. We're not treating her anymore. It's over." So the Vatican, which also has a hospital system, they had agreed that they would take the little girl, and that they offered the little girl Vatican citizenship and everything. And the UK government said, "No, we're not participating in this. We're not doing anything with this. We've made our decision. That's it." The little girl died like 3 days later or something like that. Like, this is what we're going to see. And then on the outrageous side of things, you have a bunch of bureaucrats that have to sit around and decide whether or not some guy gets to have 2 sets of genitalia, which we've seen in Canada recently.
Well, that's the thing with socialized healthcare too, right? Is they approve a lot of these surgeries that a lot of people don't agree with. At least, go ahead and do what you want, but don't use my tax dollars.
Exactly. And that's one of the arguments here for the full-on Obamacare. The left, the fascists want to eliminate all private insurance. So you don't have some healthcare like Blue Cross bureaucrat deciding what you do or don't get. Well, what's the difference between some government bureaucrat deciding what you do or don't get? The difference is power and control over the citizenry. If you don't toe the line, Rick, on this or that, your son and daughter don't get the care. It's power and control. It's not health care.
Yeah, the issues though that I think are not really being dealt with at all at this point, and it's maybe the most important stuff in my view, is UNDRIP, and there's a new cybersecurity and technologies treaty of some kind, or declaration from the United Nations, that also I think I need to learn more about it. But it also is something that is bringing pressure to bear on the sovereignty of nation states like Canada, and Canada's integration of UNDRIP into our system. I think our politicians need to be taking a closer look at that stuff. And I would hope that that's an issue that is brought up during the course of this election. Nobody's really addressing it adequately. The United Nations, this as an international body is bringing way too much pressure to bear and is exerting way too much influence over our politics here. And Justin Trudeau has been the main facilitator of that. We need to be looking at national sovereignty and self-determination as a nation state. That's what we need to be focused on. Somebody needs to be asking Justin Trudeau really hard questions about his embrace of his notion that Canada should be and has become on his watch the world's first post-nation state. Nobody's even talking about that stuff.
You're absolutely right on that. And it's one of those things that's always going to lurk in the shadows. And I highly doubt it's going to even be touched during this upcoming election cycle, like at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. And that, even Polyev is not really talking about that, and he needs to. So if
And
you're
that-
out there, folks, at town halls, you're meeting with these politicians, when we do get to the election, you hold your member of parliament's feet to the fire and ask tough questions at those town halls. Get to the bottom of where those politicians, your representatives, where they stand on these issues, and make your beliefs and your desires. Tell them what you want. Tell them what your concerns are. Share that. Make it very clear to them.
Participate.
Now's the time. Yeah,
Participate.
that's right.
Like I'm really sick of our voter turnout in this country is absolutely disgusting. It makes me sick. All these people have their complaints and grievances. How many of these people participate? Like none of them do. You have a lot of power and authority. You could sign up to be a member of any political party you want to, and you could participate. You could ask questions. You could help set policy. There's a million things that you could do to participate in democracy. But you could sit at home and bitch on TikTok or on YouTube all you want. It's not going to change things. You need to be out there in your community, and you need to be present.
Yeah, I say that all the time on my show. That's one of the reasons I created it. Supposedly 30 to 50 million Christians in the U.S., fellow Christians, supposed Christians, aren't even registered to vote, let alone actually be a delegate to the GOP to help affect change. Stop whining, get off your ass, and do things.
So Joseph is actually here, Brendan, to talk about this school shooting in Georgia, and I think school shootings in general. Being the author of Terror Strikes, he has, a particular level of knowledge when it comes to extremism and threats to Western society, America in particular. So let's take a little break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll get into that discussion. Stay with us.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, Joseph, my chair just broke.
Uh-oh.
But I'm okay. I'm still here. I'm going to let you take the lead on this. Do you want to intro this
At least you have a chair.
coverage?
Yeah. I mean, things are, of course, still unfolding because it happened this morning. But there indeed was a school shooting. Apparently, a 14-year-old is in custody. I won't give his name. I won't give him the time of day and that, publicity. But a 14-year-old there were, let me back up. So before the actual shooting, there was a call to police, but we don't have all the details, saying there would be school shootings at 5 schools today. And then shortly thereafter, indeed, there was the one at Appalachia School in Winder or Widener, Georgia, one of those facts that's currently unclear because of my drug state. But only as it stands now, 4 dead, 2 students, 2 teachers, and 9 wounded. I would expect that that number would go up. Now, we don't know if the phone threat was from the actual shooter or somebody else, or the shooter trying to create a diversion and spread resources thin at 5 locations while he only planned to do 1. There could be accomplices. So it's still an ongoing, unfolding investigation situation. Hopefully something else, the other shoe won't drop tomorrow at another school.
Okay, and are you concerned about a copycat or someone else involved in this? Is there a reason why you would be focused on maybe something happening tomorrow, possibly?
Well, indeed, if that phone threat of 5 different schools is legitimate, we don't know. He may have not necessarily copycats, but accomplices, we don't know yet, who may have decided to not go through with it today, but could tomorrow at another school.
Okay, here's a clip from the news conference with police.
As the sheriff mentioned earlier this morning, the shooter is in custody. His name is Colt, that's C-O-L-T, Gray. He is a 14-year-old student here at the school, G-R-A-Y. He is a 14-year-old student here at the high school. Again, he has been taken into custody. He will be charged with murder, and he will be tried as an adult and handled as an adult. As the sheriff mentioned earlier.
So there's that.
Yeah, again, if they're going to be able to get any info, the investigation, of course, is ongoing. Did he leave a manifesto like other shooters have or not? Did he keep a diary that some hints might be in there? Will he give up accomplices if it is true he has others who will want to attack other schools, or will he admit? And if he does, can we believe he's a lone gunman and indeed that phone threat was just diversionary tactics or not?
And here's a clip from, I guess, inside the school.
We got a whole school to get evacuated, people. Come on now. Come on. Far left. Just move with purpose. Come on.
And I think we've got one more clip here, too, that we can share with people in a moment. Yeah, here's one here. Short one. Also from inside the school. Here we go. Very, very short. Not much to see, but gets you inside the building.
Yeah. And of course, the body bags, the bodies, as the saying goes, weren't even cold before Cringe John Peon, the press secretary, took to the airwaves, and Camilla, extinction level event, if she's elected here, went to the podiums to spew, "We got to confiscate guns." Of course, ignoring that people are already breaking the gun laws they've given that are on the books. And I dare say I call on Speaker of the House Johnson. GOP has control of our House of Representatives right now, but not the Senate, to put forth a bill like Cringe John Peon said, enough is enough. I want the Enough is Enough Act, which demands every school for every 750 students has one armed security guard or two on-site staffers legally carrying a weapon for every 700 students in every school in America. Because indeed, enough is enough with these gun-free slaughter zones. The criminals know they get to kill a bunch of people while they're waiting on police to arrive with a gun to put them down or otherwise stop them.
Here's a clip of a student from the school.
I got up, I started running. He started shooting like 10 times. He shot at least 10 times. And then I ran to the back of the classroom. I dived behind the desk, and my teacher had got in front of me like he was guarding me. But like the gunshots were so close to me, like my ears started ringing real bad. Like the whole classroom was smoking, like, and everything. And then when he finally got out of the classroom, my teacher started barricading the door with desks and bookshelves and all that. And then I had got up. When I had got up, I had saw one of my classmates on the ground bleeding so bad. And then when I had moved myself to the other side of the room because the bookshelf I was hiding behind, it was right in front of the door. So I had moved to the other side, to like this side with my friend. And I was checking on my other friend because he got grazed in his leg. And then there was a white girl that was in front of me. She got shot in her leg and stuff. And then my other friend got shot in her stomach. And it was just so sad, stuff like that.
Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot to process. And you're so young. You're how old?
14.
That's so much to have to process in class where you're supposed to feel safe.
Yeah.
How are you doing now? I mean, what's going through your mind?
Like, it just keep replaying back in my head. I just thank God that I wasn't the one that got hit. You know, like in the midst of all of it happening, I was just thanking God because, you know, he had his hands around me and stuff like that. Because I could have been the one that got hit because I was right there. He could have easily got me, but God had his hands around me.
And that from WPRI Television, Channel 12.
Yeah, and 4 is the death toll as of now. 9 wounded at hospital. That both those numbers, of course, could climb. I didn't even address yet. I'm glad you showed that clip. Like this young girl will have PTSD, trauma issues for the rest of her life because the left refuses to let us have armed guards to stop this stuff. Gun-free slaughter zones invite slaughter.
What do you think, Brendan?
I think we live in a really sick society that this stuff keeps happening. I'm pretty tired of it. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know. I definitely don't think whatever the Democrats put forward on this is going to fix anything.
No, of course not.
But this is a tale that isn't ending anytime soon, and this is just a marker for how sick this society is. This is what we're brewing.
Why are there really no pictures of this person? Is it because of the age and the laws on the U.S. side?
Yeah. Well, the 14-year-old, they said will be charged as an adult.
But not charged yet.
Correct. Until charged as an adult is a minor and therefore protected from the image being shown.
What about the name? Up here in Canada, you couldn't even name a young offender under our Canadian laws.
Yeah, that one clip you ran, he did give the name. Again, I refuse to say it. Not important. What is important is that this bastard be charged as an adult and duly convicted. I mean, the evidence will be overwhelming. Cameras from and in the school will show it. But the point being is this could stop if we put armed security at the schools. Like so many say, we have armed guards at banks. We have armed guards all kinds of places. But for whatever reason, the left refuse to protect our children. I call it the false choice of the left, right? Choice when it comes to murdering babies, but I forgot what I made the acronym. They refuse to ever protect our children in any way, shape, or form.
And with your research that you've done in the past into terrorism and shootings like this, is it your assertion that by naming a shooter, you're sort of giving them what they're looking for, which is publicity and possibly even fueling the possibility of copycats or more of this kind of activity and tragedy?
Yeah, I remember now. I have a meme, choice, because again, the left want choice only when it comes to murdering babies. You don't have a choice in the light bulb. You don't have the choice in what school you can send your kid to. So I call it can't help our innocent children ever. That's the real choice, an acronym that the left provides.
Okay. Anything else that we need to focus on with regard to this story?
Well, again, something indeed needs to be done, but you do not get to just trash our Second Amendment and enact more unconstitutional gun laws that criminals and evil people like this SOB will find a way to get guns anyway. There are 350 million people in the United States. There are like 1 billion weapons. They will always be. They don't follow the law now. You morons like Piglosi and Cringe John Peon. They're never going to follow the law. The only way to do it is to harden the target.
Here's Kamala Harris.
But yet they block legislation every time that would make this senseless tragedy less, less odds that it would happen, because these people that go to slaughter people would know that school is armed and likely not go and do that event. And also they oppose school choice. Let me send my kid to a school that I know actually will protect my school. But the public indoctrination factories, they want to be gun-free slaughter zones. And we're lucky the death toll is only 4, because statistically, the FBI stats say there is usually a 12 plus deaths in a gun-free slaughter zone, but where a business that allows people to be armed, there is only like 4 deaths on average, because the shooter is met with somebody who can stop them. Because when seconds count, the police are, as they say, minutes away, and more casualties usually rack up because of that.
Well, we just heard from Kamala Harris. And Brendan, as you were discussing with me just before we came on air.
Kamala.
Or online.
Yep.
Liz Cheney.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
That's a palate cleanser. Let's talk about that.
That idiot.
I guess Liz Cheney has come out to, endorse Kamala Harris? Does that make sense?
It would not surprise me. You can't call her a rhino, I tell my fellow Republicans or a CINO, a conservative in name only. Because if you looked at her voting record in Congress, she was solid with the Republican conservative constitutional platform. But she suffers TDS. There's no question. She is consumed by hate of Donald Trump. And also, John McCain's son today has come out in support of Harris. And the reason he claims is the Arlington Cemetery dust up. But on the news, clip after clip is shown of John McCain walking through Arlington Cemetery in a campaign ad. This isn't principle.
All of the people that attended that explicitly came out with videos declaring that they invited Donald Trump to be there,
Yes.
and that Donald Trump was always very supportive of them, and that Donald
Yes.
Trump was always there for them, and that they wanted him there. Over 8 people came
Yeah.
out, and they all expressed their shame of the Biden-Harris administration, who've never said a word to them, even though they did like the most disastrous military withdrawal that has ever been seen since the British withdrawal out of Detroit. Like, this hasn't been seen in that long. It's absolutely disgusting. It's at the end part of the video, Rick. Like, the audio is kind of crap.
Yeah, Liz Cheney, the McCains, they're all TDS sufferers, Trump derangement syndrome.
Here's the announcement, sort of.
I think it is crucially important for people to recognize not only is what I just said about the danger that Trump poses something that should prevent people from voting for him, but I don't believe that we have the luxury of writing in candidates' names, particularly in swing states. And as a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this. And because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I am voting for Kamala Harris.
Republicans against Trump for Harris.
I think this is kind of a good thing. Nobody likes Liz Cheney. They voted her out. She ran for election. She failed. She's a loser. She lost. She lost big time. I don't know anybody in the Republican circle that goes, that Liz Cheney is a God-fearing conservative. We love her. Nobody likes Liz Cheney.
No. And again, her voting record was good, but it's just TDS consumes her. And I'm scrolling through YouTube now. I bet they probably pulled it for that McCain ad of him walking through Arlington Cemetery. It's duplicitous. It's double standards. It's just a BS reason for them in their TDS to promote Harris rather than Trump.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
There's tons of video of indeed Trump at Arlington, but now, of course, that McCain ad mysteriously missing.
I'm at a loss for words. I just think this is hilarious. Liz Cheney is a bogus nobody.
Yeah,
she's been sticking her nose where it don't belong anyway.
I just came across this guy's video. I'm not sure exactly what it is or what to make of it, but I'm going to run it because it looks interesting to me and it's got something to do with what we're talking about. And so it's a little bit of a risk here because I haven't vetted this before, but let's let this guy say something.
I went to a Kamala Harris rally. And it was weird because a conversion happened, a transformation. Something started welling up in me. It sort of bubbled up. And suddenly I wanted to thank a union member for my paid time off. I wanted to thank a union member for my 5-day work week. I wanted to thank a union member for my sick leave. I wanted to go out in the street and teach everybody how I make my collard greens in a bathtub and how we got it done in 2020. And we're going to get it done again in 2024. And I could not believe that these words were coming out of me like I was speaking in a strange tongue. And suddenly I was looking in my purse for my hot sauce because I done got in a fight over a fried chicken sandwich at the Popeyes, and I thought, my God in heaven, what in the world is happening right now? It's like I'm a different person. Wow, the power of Kamala to transform everybody into something they're not. Woohoo! I mean, come on, y'all. We gonna spend the Lord's Day in the Lord's house. Done got the anointment all up on here. We just gonna become a new creation in Kamala. Come on, y'all. Woo!
He's got a point.
Yeah, the Hitlery and the hot sauce and the purse reference here. Yeah, Kamala, like she was in Detroit the other day. All of a sudden, a black Southern accent. Excuse me? It's all pandering. It's all bull. It's ridiculous.
Tucker Carlson touched on this really well before his exodus at Fox News. He says, what is with all of these people suddenly mimicking Dr. Martin Luther King? Like out of nowhere. This all happened like last winter. This all started happening. AOC started doing this. All these other people. It's like it's crazy. Like AOC is from New York, and she goes up on stage being like, "I'm gonna be the great redeemer. We're going to give everybody a free stuff. I have a dream." Yeah.
The party that hates God, the anti-Semitic party, hates Jews and their maker, are all of a sudden, preachers on stage and black evangelics. Give me a break. What a farce.
Well, I think that guy's video was pretty funny. And
yeah,
yet
it was
pretty much spot on, because I've seen her speak and she just kind of falls into this this accent. You know,
she wasn't scripted, and her act just dropped back down to bumbling Mary there.
Word salad Kamala, yeah. Her word salads when she goes off script. That's why they only have her at rallies with a teleprompter. She's done one interview in 40 whatever days. It was clear she would be the nominee. They have to hide her like they do Biden, because people who actually know what she's about can't stand her. There are no policy positions on her website for you to look up. It's the same teleprompter speech with the location name changed. Lack of substance.
And I find it hilariously amusing that everybody is now talking about in the mainstream media that, elections aren't won on policy decisions at all. It's all about the vibes, man. It's all about the good vibes. You need the good vibes in the election. That's what people are going to vote for. The good vibes, man.
Yep. I forget if it was Fox or Newsmax, but they had a man in the street and, of course, interviewing one person. Why do you support Kamala? Oh, good vibes. Literally, that came out of the person's mouth. Couldn't name one policy, accomplishment, or one thing she stands for. It's the good vibes, style over substance, garbage.
Here's her website that you mentioned. So
don't
miss out. Stay informed by signing up for notifications from Team Harris. Well, later. And then you can right up front, they're looking for the cash. Close that. Oh, and they still have more buttons to push for donations of like $1,000 or even more by clicking other. 25, 47, 100, 250, 1,000 or other. Let's win this. Join the campaign. Contact us. Donate to the Harris Victory Fund. Donate by mail. Donate, and donate now. Donate often.
Not one policy thing on that website. Not one.
They have less policies on there than the PPC.
Because they know their policy has been failure. You think Bidenomics is bad? Wait till Communomics under Kamala happens.
There's nothing on here at all of any substance. Just a bio of each candidate. Says here's take action.
Donate,
when we
donate,
fight, we
donate,
win.
donate.
Yeah, so they just collect your email and contact info. Then you can go to the store to buy your merch.
More about donating. Yep.
Look, they got the Barack Obama. Yes, she can. Yes, we can.
That's what it's about. Before with Obama and Biden, it was hope and change lies. Now the style is Harris and Walz, dope and deranged. Just don't expect any policy. If you go to Trump's website, Trump 47, all laid out, all the policy items.
Let's take a look at Trump's website.
Yeah, they can't talk substance because, like Reagan said, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? That answer is no, unless if you're a ruling elitist on the inside, like Pelosi getting the stock tips ahead.
And right up front, will you please donate weekly now?
Let's see if he has a fully stocked
his
store to
button,
buy stuff.
Yeah, his buttons only go up to $500. They don't even ask for $1,000. I guess they're less greedy or less needy. They're not after me, they're after you. I'm just a standing in the way. Oh, the Kamala accent came and infected me on the Donald Trump website. Sacrilege! So there's his platform. Bam! Here's what he stands for.
All laid out. And it is not Project 2025 that the left, we talked about this on the two of the convention nights I was with you. Project 2025 is not Trump's platform. That is his platform. But the left continue to lie over and over and over.
Yeah, we did kind of go over this, but the planks in his platform are seal the border, carry out deportation, the largest in American history. Wow, that's number 2. End inflation, make America the dominant energy producer in the world, stop outsourcing, bring back jobs, large tax cuts for workers, no tax on tips, which Kamala stole.
Yep.
Defend the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, fundamental freedoms, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over the entire country, end the weaponization of government against the people, stop migrant crime epidemic, rebuild cities, that's infrastructure, strengthen and modernize the military, keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. I'm for that. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts. Cancel the electric vehicle mandate. I'm not opposed to that at all. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory. I think that might be okay. Keep men out of women's sports. Support pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. I think that sounds pretty cool. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. And number 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success.
And RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, the Shanahan, the VP for RFK Jr. on board to bring things. And Kamala lies now. She wants to secure the border. The Senate bill she keeps lying about is an amnesty bill. It is not about securing the border. It's about giving amnesty to the 20 million people they've let in over the last 3 years because they want their votes.
And what do you think of the coalition? The unity ticket now, I guess. Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah.
Yeah, between RFK Jr. and Trump. Brendan, what do you think?
I think it's worth taking a look at Trump's store. Talk about identity politics.
You want to make America great again hat.
I wouldn't mind it. However, I'm a little grossed out. He's playing his own identity politics here. He's got women for Trump. He's got blacks for Trump. He's got Catholics for Trump. He's got Jews for Trump. He's got
glad you brought that up, because I say over and over, I may not like identity politics. You may not either, but Abraham Lincoln didn't get to say Gettysburg, Schmettysburg. Just look, sometimes the enemy creates a battleground you must fight on, and identity politics is one of those. And J.D. Vance as VP is an identity politic pit to some degree without him being female or black. His hillbilly elegy plays to hillbillies and rednecks that the left call flyover people. So it's an identity politic pick to some degree. As I say, we must fight on that battleground whether we like it or not. You don't get to just surrender.
$40 US for a Make America Great Again hat? 40
What is that, like 150 Canadian?
Yeah, about. Yeah, just about. In fact, I'll look it up. I'll tell you exactly.
Yeah, I'm teasing. It can't be that bad.
$54.03. Does that include shipping?
No, probably not. It probably doesn't ship it to Canada either.
Right. That's I don't.
Man, shipping could be delayed.
Yeah, I don't send my books when I personal sales on terrorstrikes.info. I will send free shipping in the U.S. territories. To ship a book to Canada costs more than the book cost is.
Yeah.
I want to get a Black Americans for Trump hat. That's what I want.
Yeah, $47 total US for a hat.
He's capitalizing on it. I bet people are buying it.
Hey, you know what?
It's a fundraiser, so
yeah,
it's not just a hat.
But we are free market capitalists. The left, hypocrites that want communism rather than capitalism, want to shut down capitalism. So they're hypocritical. I'm not, because I'm for free markets and capitalism. I'm all for him selling whatever he can for as much as he can. But the left, again, their product site, they're anti-capitalists. But yet they want you to buy stuff to fund them. They're hypocrites. They're liars. They're buffoons.
Oh, wow. So let's look at, do a quick comparison here. So it's $32 for the Harris Walz baseball cap. But you could only buy 1 yard sign for $20 on there. On the Trump site, you could buy, I think, a pack of 48 signs, it said. How many signs? What was it? 48
That would
signs?
be a big number.
48 signs for, hold up here.
That would be expensive shipping because the signs aren't expensive. If they're including the wire to go with them, then that's where the expense comes in.
And most of the shirts on here are like 36 US, 30, some of them a little less, but most are around $35, $36. But you know what we have? We have Trump t-shirts. And they're for a donation of $30 or more Canadian. I'd be happy to send you one of these.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are 2 iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
Gotta love that black and red. That is sharp. You could find yourself looking fantastic in the Trump fight shirt. Brought to you by Maverick News. You could look just as fantastic as we do. Except I'm not wearing one right now.
Yeah, help us pay the bills. We need it because we're not billionaires like Mr. Trump.
Right. Well, again, he's not a hypocrite about it. He's got billions. He hasn't care if others also make billions. He's pro-capitalism, unlike the lefty communists.
But hey, if you can't afford a shirt or don't want to donate $30, that's okay. I don't spend a lot of money on things either. I'm quite frugal. You could also help us for free just by slapping the like button. Give it a smack. We need your help, people.
Like, share, subscribe, like a parrot on every YouTube video, right? Like, share, subscribe,
please.
like, share, subscribe. I do it on all my videos now too. So I hate YouTube with every video. Indeed, like, share, subscribe at the end, but I'm doing it now too.
Yeah, give us the thumbs up. That helps with the algorithm. It drives the censors crazy. They're like, oh my God, nothing we can do. We can't shadow ban that channel. Too many thumbs up. It's hopeless. We can't shut it down. Maverick News is just too popular. Joseph and Brendan were on the show, and it just went viral.
You know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to come. Gonna do it. Oh, I just hit us at 71 likes. Give us a thumbs up. Bam!
Thank you, everybody, for supporting us. I do appreciate it. We do appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. Well, guys, I think we've kind of hit on all the major topics tonight. I was going to talk a little bit about the war in Ukraine, but as I look, really there haven't, just to bring you up to date, we've not had many major developments since our discussion last night.
There was.
What was that?
A Russian missile struck another apartment building full of civilians.
Oh, my. Well, is this the one I mentioned last night?
I'm not sure. I'm just hearing about it today. It could have indeed been still from last night that we're talking about it still today. But yeah, unlike that, the Ukrainians struck a bunch of innocent people on the beach, which we debunked weeks ago. This, collateral damage. Let me speak honestly and openly without my, pro-Ukrainian people. I don't support Zelensky. I support the Ukrainian people who've been attacked again, like umpteenth millionth time over the last 100 years of history. Russia and Soviets have tried to exploit Ukraine as a breadbasket to feed Russians. There are too many of these incidents to be accidental, coincidental, collateral damage. They've got to be targeting these places.
And well, since it's on the table, do you want to comment, Brendan, before we sign off tonight?
Make love, not war. Stop it. Just stop it. Cut it out.
Well,
I wish that were possible, my friend. But the enemy has a say in this. Russia invaded unprovoked. I don't care about your NATO encroachment BS argument, parroting Putin talking points. They invaded a sovereign nation unprovoked. Period. Again, 100 years of history. See the movie Mr. Jones. If you are that clueless about history, see the movie Mr. Jones with Edward Norton in it and learn something.
Yeah. Well, we spoke a lot about Ukraine this week, so I'm not going to get deep into this tonight. But I am following what's going on along the front lines inside Ukraine itself pretty closely, because Russian forces made some pretty substantial gains there over a number of days, several days. It looks like that is slowing at the moment. But over in Kursk, we're seeing troops there trying to dig in. Zelensky's saying that they're now going to stay there indefinitely. That's his word. At least that's what he's saying publicly.
They've got to have that as a bargaining chip.
I suppose the concerning thing for me is I did see video today of the results of fighting over there. and graphic images that I won't share with you here. Very upsetting. I don't like to see images like that. I think if anybody has any humanity left in them, they don't like to see images like that. And I wish the fighting could stop. But what we're seeing in Kursk is the two sides really jockeying for position. I think those Ukrainian troops inside Russian territory, they've scored big points on the public relations, even propaganda spectrum, but those troops are in danger. They're very vulnerable in there, and they have to be very careful. I think there's a real danger that they could end up being flanked and possibly slaughtered. And there is lots of information coming in here that is telling me that indeed the Russians appear to be making efforts to try to surround those Ukrainian troops. So the counteroffensive is there.
I was for the push, but I also, as I said on the other show, right? Real leaders studied the art of war by Sun Tzu. Dumb leaders, like a Baidong, studied the art of stupid by Sun Burn. They've got to pull them back so they can keep the supply lines indeed intact. But they do finally into Russian territory because you have to take it to your enemy.
Yeah, well, the good offense in this case appears to maybe have been a good defense. The question is, can they hold that territory as Zelensky says they're going to, or was he just throwing that out there as a ruse? Or will they actually end up retreating? I'm very nervous about what I'm seeing going on in there right now.
I think they do need to pull back a bit to defensible lines and lines that can be maintained to resupply them. Otherwise, you're right. They'll be surrounded and you just gave POWs to the other side.
Or corpses. So
one or the other, yep.
Yeah. Well, final thought, Brendan.
Canada has some really exciting things coming at us soon. I'm really happy to kind of hear the news today that there's some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, quite possibly. So you're going to want to stay tuned to Maverick News to make sure that we get the full scoop on this and everything that's going to happen. I'm going to be here. Rick's going to be there. I don't know about Joe because Joe doesn't know nothing about Canuckistan. However... Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure being here with everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And Joseph, very briefly, give us your final thoughts for the evening. Quick.
Indeed. Stay tuned to Maverick News for all these continuing facts as they unfold.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here tonight and helping me entertain the audience and hopefully inform as well. And that effort will continue along with our fight for freedom tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Maverick News Channel. Love you guys. Catch you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.